think in the end, where will we be? And TV contracts have a lot to do with this. Where will college football's Power 5 be, in your opinion, in, let's say, 10 years?
Wow, that's a great question. I think it's going to change by the time the new TV deals are done. Okay, so after the Big 12 gets its commissioner, and by the way, who's that going to be? You guys enlighten me. I've got some ideas, but there doesn't seem to be a hot candidate for it right now. I will tell you, I think being Big 12 commissioner is a much better job than replacing Mark Emmert at his job. Okay, that's the job you'd really want.
Yep.
Okay. And I think that the Big 12 and the Pac-12 deals, the Big 10 is basically done. Okay, Fox is going to be the primary carrier. We know that. That's already been reported. Whoever they pick as the secondary carrier on air, at least there have been some published reports indicating that Fox is helping the Big 10 with that in sort of a consulting fashion. I don't know that to be true, but that's what's being reported by those that keep up with such things, the Sports Business Journal people, John Orand and those guys that are out there covering sports media. But whoever gets the second end of it, whether it's CBS or NBC or even ESPN, which I think, again, could be a bit of a reach because they've got all of the SEC. And for them to get a piece of the Big Ten with both CBS and NBC interested, that's going to be fun to watch to see how that whole thing plays out, given the history between the Big 12 and ESPN, most recent history at least. So we'll see. But the Pac-12 deal also comes after that, and with what George Kliavkoff had to say about at the big Pac-12 meetings last week about the digital, the Amazons and the Apples and all that getting into the mix. Whatever it takes to get the Big 12 and the Pac-12 the money that they desperately need to be at least in the same ballpark with the SEC and the Big 10 is going to, in my mind, that's going to dictate, the direction that we go as it relates to maintaining conference affiliations and not seeing, tremendous realignment moves between now and 10 years from now. Your question was about 10 years from now. I think the notion that the Big 12 was done, and you remember this time last year, that was the notion. Oh, my God, Big 12 is done. Some of those teams may even fold into the AAC. You remember hearing all that. Obviously, that didn't happen. So we got to be mindful of that. My personal opinion is that we will have 5 power conferences. We may see expansion to more teams coming into the Power 5. Possibly Mike Oresco's P6 could come into play because I think he's done a really nice job with the AAC. Even the teams that are replacing those that he's losing, I think, have some upside. But as it relates to this, it's just going to be 45 teams and that's it. And they're just going to play round robins with each other. And the group of 5 is not going to be a part of this in the mid-230s, which is what Jack Swarbrick indicated. I don't see that. I think the people I talk to that are in positions of power in college football, they want to make as much money for their schools as they possibly can. And the SEC's teams are making like $60, $70 million. And there's talk that the Big Ten deal, once it's all done and they've got the secondary carrier to go along with Fox, and then maybe they do some digital deals. Maybe those schools could get as high as 90 to 100 million per school. Listen, how much is too much? I don't know. I just know this: live sports television is still worth a lot of money, whether they're getting it from digital or they're getting it from mainline over-the-air networks. If the Big 12 and the Pac-12 can stay on footing at 40 to 45 million per school in TV, then I think they'll be able to exist and still be a factor in big-time college football. The people that I talk to want to make sure that the group of 5 schools, those that aren't getting the same kind of revenue in television rights, are protected because they need them to fill out their schedules. They really want to be able to play some of those games non-conference, maybe not as many, but some of them. And I think protecting the schools that are in the AAC, the Mountain West, the MAC, and so on, those the Sun Belt, they need to be protected. And I really hope that the leaders that are the power brokers, truly the 5 conference commissioners of the power leagues, do what's best, not just for their individual conferences, but for all of Division I college football. And I mean, look, the money's there. They should be happy. It's all about governance, and it's all about leadership. And the right leadership with quality governance, college football will be just fine in 5 years and 10 years and forever. The notion that it's going the way of the NFL and but some of the things that the NFL did, fellas, they need to do. They need to have more networks involved in their postseason than just one. I think they'll do that. I think you'll see multiple networks with the college football playoff when that deal is done after the 2025 season.
You know, Tim, one of the things, and we had some pretty good insight fortunately, from building relationship over the years. The one thing that Bowlesby and the Big 12 always felt like it helped them once they kind of stopped the tsunami with Texas and OU was the live programming. You brought it up, the live programming. They got to fill time. Networks have time. They got to fill those spots. And that's one of the things that I think they're going to try to, hopefully they can, is take advantage of exactly what I was told and also what you just mentioned as well.
Yeah, well, by example, people have been discussing a little bit the last few weeks about the USFL. And some people have said to me, oh, my God, there's nobody in the stands. And I'm like, well, it really doesn't matter whether people are in the stands or not. They're like, well, what do you mean? Well, you're not paying rights. You know, Fox isn't paying rights for the USFL. They own it. It's theirs. And the teams, I mean, they're basically putting in what they're putting in, $150 million over a 3-year period. They're getting help from the city of Birmingham, okay, in terms of facilities and whatnot. The business model is what it is. And then they got a partner, a television partner in NBC to join them. And, yeah, it's great if there's 10,000, 15, 20,000 people at the games. But if they're not paying rights and they're putting on football games in the spring that are getting numbers that rival or sometimes beat the NHL playoffs, the NBA, and whatever the other programming might be, golf and Major League Baseball, and they're not paying any rights for it, check out what the rights are worth, you know, to those other professional sports leagues right now that those networks are doling out. So if they get a 1.2 rating, that's over 1 million people watching. That might be more than the Capitals and the Bruins got in a playoff game. But you're not paying any rights for it. You know, that's the nature of the beast. Having live sports television is a must in this day and time.
Anything else, Paul?
Nope.
Hey, Tim, as always, thank you very much. Appreciate you being a part